From Canada, Citizens Forum, where we look at the important issues of the day through a lens of democracy and media and try to figure out, how do we build a better country for ourselves? Hello, welcome to Citizens Forum. It is Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. My name is Jack Etkin. Citizens Forum is from Victoria, BC, Canada. We try to take a Canadian perspective on things, and we kind of work from the basis of, do we have the great democracy in Canada that they always tell us we have? And do we have the free press that a democracy needs that they always tell us we have? So it looks right now on today's date that Mark Carney is going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Or not. I think it really depends on how the media play this election. But at the moment, Mark Carney is the guy. And it comes down to me to the question of, who does Mark Carney work for? Does he work for the people of Canada, or does he work for the corporate elite that runs not only Canada, but also the world? And my own feeling is, based on his career, that he works for corporate interests. And in fact, anybody who's going to be a prime minister of Canada or a premier in Canada has got to work for big business. If they work for the people of Canada, they're not going to be the premier of a province or the prime minister of our country. I think, I think that's the kind of democracy we have. The top politicians are basically actors, and the act is that they work for us, but they don't. And in our system, unfortunately, the premiers and the prime minister and the party leaders, any party leader, except in the Greens, where I don't think they use this as much at the moment, but certainly the other parties, the leader's power is almost absolute, right? A politician who wants to have a career and who does not do what the party leader wants is not going to have that career. That's just the way it is. And I don't think that's a very democratic system. So here comes Mark Carney, the next Prime Minister of Canada, or Pierre Poil. It doesn't matter. Poilievre, I think, works for the corporate sector as much as does Mark Carney, or Justin Trudeau, or Doug Ford, or whoever the premier in Quebec is. I can't remember his name. Here in BC, we have an NDP government. Our premier is Premier David Eby, the Honorable, dare I say it, David Eby. And of course, he has to completely sell out to the corporations, because if he doesn't, he's not going to be the premier, because they own the media, right? This is sort of how it works. They own the media, and we believe the media. So if the media starts telling us that the NDP is doing terrible stuff, the NDP will quickly be in a lot of trouble, because we believe the media. But right now, the NDP is giving the corporate sector everything they want. And so the media is very happy with the NDP. So we don't see negatives. And they'd be happy with the Conservatives, who are the opposition as well. It doesn't matter. So who really runs Canada? And here is who I think, not who really runs Canada, but at least one of their tentacles. This is called the Business Council of Canada. This is their homepage. And it looks, how much more benign can you get than this? But it's the Business Council, and there's one everywhere, I think. The United States Business Council of the United States, or the American Business Council, they have them everywhere. Every Western corporate country. And here are their members. So the members of the council is composed of the chief executives and entrepreneurs of over 170 leading Canadian companies. And when they say Canadian, many of them are American-owned or owned outside of Canada. It doesn't matter. So we, the chief executives of over 170 leading Canadian companies operating in every sector and region of the country, We are united by a deep commitment to Canada and a desire to help the country reach its full potential. And personally, I don't believe that. I think all they're interested in is power and money. And boy, they're taking both as fast as they can. They've got all the power. And they're robbing us blind, which is why Canadians can't afford to eat or have a place to live. I think it's because of these people. And there are people who write on this issue. And I don't mean to fault any of these people. They just work for the large corporations. Here's DuPont. Here's, who knows who these, Microsoft, Boston, the ones we've never even heard of. But obviously, we'll have to look at BCE. BCE is Bell Canada Enterprises. They own a lot, but including CTV and many radio stations across Bell is powerful. Run by, I believe, the former head of the Royal Bank, RBC. And that's BCE down here. Now it's represented on this group by Mr. Mirko Bibic. I don't know how to pronounce his name, sorry. Anyways, here's TD Bank, here's GE, General Electric, here's Desjardins, which a lot of people, there's somebody representing Power Corporation. Here's Canadian Pacific. It used to be Canadian Pacific, now it's Canadian Pacific Kansas City. Anyway, Garda World was there. So, to me, these are the people who really run Canada. The government is just middle management. The politicians are middle management. But we trust them to some extent. So here's something about Mr. Carney, who we know nothing about. I mean, he's come out of the blue. I guess the red in his case. But I mean, obviously, a guy with a lot of talent. I mean, he graduated from Harvard, born in the Northwest Territories, grew up in Edmonton, went to Harvard University on a partial scholarship. He was the backup goalie, I think, for the Harvard hockey team. So a guy with talents in many, many different areas. Graduated from Harvard, went to Oxford, graduated from Oxford, went to Goldman Sachs, which is, Goldman Sachs is a banking corporation that does not work for the people of the United States or Canada or anywhere else. They work for the rich and the powerful, for the 0.01%. That's Goldman Sachs. So that's where Mark Carney started his career. He then he worked over time for the government of Canada. He became the governor of the Bank of Canada. He then became the governor of the Bank of England, the only non-Brit in the bank's history to be the governor of the Bank of England. So clearly this is a guy with talents. But the question is, who does he work for? Who does he work for? Does he work for the people of Canada, or does he work for corporate Canada? His last career position, I think, was with a large worldwide corporation with a Canadian arm called Brookfield or Brookfield Asset Management, or, asset management may only be a part of the Brookfield empire, but it's big. And that's where he worked. And now he's potentially going to be the Prime Minister of Canada, or at least the leader of the opposition. So here. Yeah, this is from CTV, controlled by, remember, the former head of the Royal Bank. But we all trust CTV. We think they're telling us the truth when they're run by the guy who used to be the head of the Royal Bank, RBC. We can't necessarily trust these people to be telling us the truth about anything. Although, so here's the headline: Carney premiers seeking plan for national energy and trade corridor. I don't even know what that means, but I sort of have an idea, because An energy corridor is actually like a strip that would probably run, it sounds like they want coast to coast. And it would have a certain width to it of maybe a couple of 100 meters. And it would be for pipelines and maybe roads for trucks carrying material, rail lines, pipelines, highways that just can strip us of our natural resources as quickly as they possibly can, all under the guise of we have to do this because President Trump is imposing tariffs and, it's chaos. And maybe all of that is true, right? But maybe that's just the next step in the ongoing economic destruction of our country for so many people. I mean, under the leadership and rulership of these people, more and more Canadians are deeply in debt. The government is massively in debt. And one day, fairly soon, they could tell us, oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay that debt back, right? Right now, they're not talking about it, but it's big. In the United States, payments on the national debt are now more than what they spend on national defense. And you know how much they spend on, well, defense or war making, whatever you want to call it. So who is Mark Carney? And for that matter, who is Pierre Poil? Does he work for us? Who is David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, NDP? Does he work for us? So there is an election coming up. I think that election will be won by whoever the people who run Canada want. And it doesn't matter to them. I mean, Poilievre is their guy. Mark Carney certainly seems to be their guy, and they're sold to us as our guys. But that's the question. Who are they really working for? And we'd better be sure we know. And what we need is more democracy in Canada. A situation where our top politicians work for the corporate sector, which is what I'm saying. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I am completely wrong. Maybe these people really do work for us. But I'd like to see a lot more democracy where the job of the politicians is to go out and make sure people are honestly informed, not just informed of the official story, whatever that may be. But I mean, censorship is dangerous when it's controlled by people who are not our friends. And that's where we seem to be these days. And we need governments who actively go out and find out what people want and then try to do that. And we don't have that in Canada, and it's very dangerous for us. Thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.